What's going on, everybody? I have another lithium battery review. Today we are looking at the 12 volt 100 amp hour Cenerius lithium iron phosphate battery. Like most of our reviews, we will touch on the specs, overall specs of the battery, some of the features of the battery management system, general dimensions, right? What do you need to know about putting this in your boat? We're also going to do a capacity test. Everybody loves when we get to do a capacity test on a battery. Let's see if you're getting what you pay for, and then we'll wrap it up with the warranty and how it's been working for me so far. Specifications: this is a 12.8 volt battery. That's going to be pretty typical for what you see for any lithium iron phosphate battery or LiFePo4. 1280 watts in this battery, so we're going to take the 12.8 times 100 amp hours. That gives us the 1280. Capacity wise, like I mentioned, 100 amp hours, and the overall weight for this thing is 23.8 pounds. So it is like half the weight. You can almost throw this thing around. It's so light. Love these things. 23.8 pounds, about half of what you would put into a lead acid battery of a similar capacity. But again, you're talking the effectiveness of a lead acid versus a lithium. This is really like two lead acid batteries, capacity wise. Pretty nice. Battery cells in this thing, like I said, the chemistry is an LiFePo4, and these are prismatic cells, rectangular prismatic cells in there. Again, pretty typical. Sometimes you'll find cylindrical, or unlike the mini batteries, they'll have pouch cells, but rectangular prismatic cells, there's 4 of them in there stacked up. That's what's getting us our 12.8 volts. Now, when we look at a cycle life of a battery, that's typically measured in the number of cycles at a percent DOD, or percent depth of discharge. You'll see here at 5,000 cycles, we can take it down to 80% depth of discharge. So that's going to take 80 amp hours out of this battery. At the end of the day, you have 20 amp hours left. You can do that 5,000 times. If you take this battery all the way down to 0, BMS kicks out, you can still do that 4,000 times. When you're talking about a lead acid battery, maybe 250 times at a 50% depth of discharge. Yeah, these lithium batteries are multiple times the cycle life of a lead acid battery, which is pretty nice. And also, when you're sizing your battery, you want to keep that in mind, right? So if I have a 100 amp hour battery and my full day of fishing takes 50 amp hours, that's a 50% depth of discharge. My cycle life is going to go through the roof on that. If I need 100 amp hours every day, I'm going to fully discharge this battery. And again, that's going to be around the 4,000 cycles. So keep that in mind when it comes to sizing your battery. It does affect the number of cycles you're going to get out of it. BMS, or the battery management system, is something that always comes up when you're comparing batteries. There's a handful of different features and functions you want to keep your eye out for. This has all the basics. It's got your low voltage cutout, your high voltage cutout, short circuit, high temp cutout, but it also has low temperature cutoff, which is something that you want to pay attention to if the battery is going to be charged below freezing. If you live in Florida, this is probably not a problem for you. This would be a problem if you're ice fishing or you're up in the north and you go fishing. You can discharge it while it's freezing, that's cool, but charging it is where you run into a problem, and it does have low temperature cutoff, so you will not have any lithium plating problems, and it'll basically save itself, and when the battery warms up, it will charge. So that's good. The other part of the BMS is the ability to discharge at a 1C rate, which is really dependent on the cell chemistry. So you get 1C, or 1 capacity of the battery, 100 amps out of this thing continuously. It can peak a little bit higher than that for a short duration, but you can get a 1C discharge out of that. You can charge it at 0.5C, so 50 amps if you can find a charger that'll really do that. Your typical chargers that you're going to find for this thing are going to be, ideally in like the 0.1C, 10 amps. You can find 20 amps, 0.2Cs pretty often. I'll link a couple in the description, but pretty much any charger you find will work just fine for this thing. Let's touch on the dimensions of this guy. So it is 13 inches wide. It is 6 3/4 inches deep, and the height of this is at 8.4. I put 8 7/16. Just how the fractions work out, but it is like a typical, I think it's a group 31 footprint. So it's a pretty good sized battery, and it should drop in, most applications that you're already using, especially for like a marine or a trolling motor application. You can put these in series and parallel. There's some describers on their website. You can put these together for 24 volts or double capacity if you want in parallel. So no problems there when it comes to putting multiple batteries together. I think you put up to 4 off the top of my head. And lastly, let's touch on the warranty. So they claim a 10-year warranty on the battery. The first 90 days, so if you have an issue, they'll pretty much refund it. They'll take care of it. Up to 3 years, so 90 days to 3 years They will ask you to do a customer test. That's how it's described in their warranty manual. So you'll probably do a current draw test, fully charge it, put a load on it, and see how long it takes to fully deplete the battery. That'll give you an idea of the capacity of the battery. That's kind of what we'll do here in just a second. And they'll work with you on a full replacement for that if there's an issue with the battery. Years 3 to 10, they will offer you free service and maintenance. I expect you'll have to send the battery in for that, but that's what you can expect for the warranty on the later years of that overall coverage. And with that, let's jump into the capacity test and see if we can get a full 100 amps out of this thing. What we have here is our battery capacity tester. I'm going to show you on this camera what I'm looking at. This is going to pull a 10 amp load on the battery until the battery management system says that's all I got, and it cuts itself off. So what we have is a fully charged battery. It's sitting at 13.93 volts, so it's fully charged. Just took it off my lithium iron phosphate charger. It is ready to go. It's got a few cycles on it already, and so we're going to hit the go button on this, and we'll be back here in just a second with what we ended up with. There we go. There's 101 amp hours out of this thing, 1280 watt hours, so right on the nose when it comes to the rated capacity of the battery. All right, how about that? 101 amp hours, that's pretty solid, right? That's about what you can expect. It is listed as 100% depth of discharge, and that's what we're getting out of it. So you are getting what your money's worth. And that's the coverage we have for you today. My personal experience has been great. I've been running it on my smaller boat, which is this one, just running the trolling motor with it and my little fish finder off of it. It's super nice to have the lightweight battery and the double capacity. You know, it's like running 2 Group 27 lead acid batteries in your boat. A ton of capacity there, no problems taking a charge. Like I said, I've done several cycles on it before doing the discharge test. That's been doing great. And the price point's really solid. I think it's sub $300 right now. I will put a link, like always, in the description here. If this has been helpful to you, hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. I'm gonna go do some fishing.